Welcome to Family Lifestyles. I'm Lynn, Blankenship, the Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences Education in Metcalfe County, and today I am joined by Janarae Conway. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Janarae works for the Barren River District Health Department, and she is the Branch Manager of Preparedness and Response. And today we're going to be talking about disaster preparedness, and it's very timely because we just had, unfortunately, some events this past weekend.
Yes, exactly. And you know, we always think, oh, it's not going to happen to us, but it could very well happen to us.
Absolutely. And one of the tornadoes that touched down in Dawson Springs, which just had that significant tornado damage 2 years ago. Yes,
in December of 21, the tornado that touched down this past weekend went right through some of the same spots that one did. Exactly.
Yes, we were all sending prayers and strength, and I'm sure many of us are volunteering to help with cleanup and all of the things that need to be done after disasters happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can we be prepared for these types of weather type disasters, Janarae?
Well, with emergency or disaster preparedness and being prepared for what happened this weekend, there are basically three basic steps that folks can follow. And those would be, first, be informed, having your alerts, knowing how to get alerts, knowing what the alerts are, but also knowing what kind of dangers could persist in your area.
Okay.
You know, tornadoes do happen, but thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms, are more common.
Yeah.
So knowing what those more common things are and what you can do to be prepared for those.
Okay.
Putting together a supply kit, having disaster supplies available just in case you can't get out of your home within 3 days, or someone can't get to you for 3 days.
Yes.
The other thing, as far as with the supplies, is something you can grab and take with you if you have to evacuate your home.
Absolutely.
So making sure that you've got those, and then having your plan in place. What is your plan? You know, what are you going to do? You know, if you live in a mobile home, are you going to go to the neighbor's house? Are you going to go to a family's house or the community's shelter? So knowing what those plans are is extremely important.
And we're going to do 3 segments today, and we're going to talk more in depth about each of those things that you just mentioned. But in this first segment, we're going to get more into being able to be notified appropriately in different ways and methods that exist for us here in our area.
Yes, yes, and being informed, there are several different alerts that you can receive in different ways. A common way that many of us have gotten used to is using our cell phones, having the apps on your phone. Several of the television stations in the area have apps that will notify you of that. The National Weather Service has an app that will also send out notifications.
UK Ag Weather has an app now as well, free.
UK Ag Weather, which is a wonderful app, and really encourage folks to get that. And then there are others already installed on the phone. Is a national warning system that they usually test once a year in October. So, you know, that's something that is there that you can get notifications on that. If anybody wants to learn more about those, you can go to ready.gov, or you can pick up a brochure at the local health department, or even call your extension agents.
Yes, you can. You can get copies of all of this information for free in many different places in the community. Janarae, I'm thinking of one other way, and if you live inside of a town or community, often they have the big sirens. How do those work?
The community outdoor warning sirens, or commonly known as COWS, those are primarily outdoor warning sirens. Even if you live next to one, don't depend on the outdoor warning siren to warn you, because it's primarily if you're outside, say at a baseball game, a football game.
Or farming in a field.
Or farming in a field or something. I know just recently with the storms that went through, as my husband and I were going to our storm shelter, because we live in a modular home, and so we're headed up to my parents' basement, and we stepped outside, and I went, "Is that the siren?" because I'm a little out of that range of the siren, but because of the way the atmosphere was, I could hear it.
You could hear it.
And of course, also during all of that, my weather radio's going off and scaring my poor little dog because it's right next door. She likes
and
to
it's
stay.
loud.
So it's very loud. So you do have the weather radio that you can have, and I really recommend, especially for at night, because something I've noticed even with my cell phone, if I've got it on night mode to not wake me up or disturb me with texts and other notifications, you're not going to probably get those notifications.
True that.
So having a weather radio, a battery-powered radio that you can have. This particular one also has a hand crank on the back of it.
Oh, those are fantastic. You never run out of batteries that way.
Exactly. So it's battery-powered as well as having the hand crank. So it's really wonderful to have that available when the electricity goes out. And of course, these have batteries in them too.
I can see that being a good job to keep a child busy.
Yes, keep the child occupied.
Keep the radio going.
Exactly. And of course, the other thing is, as many of them folks may have noticed this weekend, as far as with your alerts and warnings that are going on, depending on what the weather situation is, they've got alerts, watches, warnings, that the National Weather Service will put out. And like we started off with the tornado watch, it was favorable. We had the conditions in place that were favorable that something could develop and could happen.
And that was several days out. They issued.
Yes.
Yeah.
They usually, 32, 24 hours ahead of time, they will issue those watches because it's looking like we're going to have those situations. And then moving forward, as they begin to see that the storm is developing, they will notice, say on radar, okay, this looks like we might have rotation going on. There's a potential a tornado is going to form here. They may issue a tornado warning.
Okay.
And so once that's happened, they'll have spotters that are on the ground, storm chasers included in that, that are trained and know what to look for, and they will notify them and report to them, hey, yes, we have a tornado on the ground. Then they'll change it to a confirmed warning.
Okay.
As that storm intensifies, they may upgrade it to a PDS or a potentially dangerous situation.
Okay.
And just to let folks know, if you live in a mobile home, you will want to get out of your mobile home probably even before the warning happens.
Okay.
So make arrangements with your family or friends to be able to
Someone
go to
who has
their
a
house.
basement, someone who has
Yes.
a
Go
foundation.
spend the night. Go have a sleepover, as the kids would say. Yeah, and spend the night with someone if you're living in a mobile home, or at least have arrangements. Maybe even get a storm shelter yourself. You can get above ground and below ground shelters put in. You can look into that, and that's a possibility. But you want to be out of there before it even reaches a PDS, because a potentially dangerous situation, you're not going to survive it.
And most communities have now the public storm shelters as well.
Yes.
So you need to know where the closest one to you is.
Yes.
And understand that generally just before they issue a warning, those things are going to be unlocked. So that once that warning is issued, if you're in a mobile home and it's in your area, you need to go to that shelter if you don't have any other options.
Yes, yes, and also watching the Weather Channel or one of the local television stations to see where the storm is at and where the rotation is, because they will, when they do issue those warnings, they will issue sometimes for a fairly large area, because you don't know exactly how the storm is going to change.
Right, and they're very unpredictable.
Yes, very unpredictable. So knowing what those are and when, and having that plan of, where am I going to shelter once
Okay, and so in the
happens.
next segment, we're going to talk about having your family plan in place and things that are important to think about in that family plan. Please come back and join us.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
I let go of trying to control things that I had no control over, and that helped me find peace of mind.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
I was constantly stressed and worried. Now I approach each day with joy and gratitude.
In Al-Anon, families and friends of alcoholics find new ways to heal from the effects of a loved one's drinking.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking?
Al-Anon and Alateen can help.
Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. For information, call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Welcome back to Family Lifestyles. I am back today with Janarae Conway. She's the branch manager of preparedness and response for Barren River District Health Department, and we are discussing disaster preparedness.
Yes. Yeah, when you're preparing for an emergency and putting together your disaster supply kit, or even just being prepared for any situation that might happen when you're outside, being aware of, that there are public facilities that do have AEDs, and they do range in size. This is one of the smaller ones. They do have some bigger ones that you'll see up on the wall. If you go to Greenwood Mall, or if you're at a courthouse, even at the schools, they're starting to have these in their gyms. Be aware that if you see someone go down, they're not responsive, they're not breathing, you're not getting a pulse. Anybody, even if you've not been trained in CPR, or it's been a while since you've been trained in CPR, can actually use one of these and get it set up. So there are instructions in here. It's very, easy to do.
Most of them talk you through it as well,
yes,
don't
they
they?
do.
Once
they
you start
talk
it,
you through it. Once you start it, it will talk you right through it.
So even if there's for whatever reason you can't read, you don't have your readers or whatever,
right?
This is going to talk you through how to save someone's life, whether you've had training or not. So no one should ever hesitate to bust out the AED if someone hits the floor and their heart is not beating.
Yes.
These things are, like Janarae said, they're becoming more and more available. Extension offices are becoming equipped with them. I know schools and all kinds of different places, stores and things like that. So never hesitate to call out for the AED and to go into action and use it to help save someone's life.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So we're not saying you should have one of these personally, but we are just saying know that these are available in many public places these days.
Yes, exactly. And so in preparing for any kind of emergency, as we talked about in the last segment, one of the things that that we talk about doing is putting together your own disaster supply kit so that you do have supplies together. Something else that you can also have for important documents. It's really important to have very important documents and put them into a fire-safe container.
Yes.
This is a wonderful space saver in a
one.
bag, and it's portable, so you can put them in here, and this is actually really good, and this is something that you can have with your kit that you grab and go.
And these are also a little bit more affordable than like the actual file size fire safes. They're kind of expensive and bulky.
And some of the documents that you're going to want to have in this, birth, death, and marriage certificates. Social Security cards. Maybe a copy of the driver's license or a state ID. Income taxes. If you've got a passport, this is a good place to keep it until you need it. So those are things to keep in mind. If you've got even a credit card that you could put in there. Make sure that you've got something in that nature. Of course, something that I learned during the tornado of December of 21, even though we had electricity, I couldn't get gas, even paying with cash, because it was all internet connected.
So
and if there's no internet, you can't get any gas. Just saying, keep your car full of gas.
Maybe keep an extra can of gas in your garage.
Yes, exactly.
With a thing of dry gas, so that you can use that if you need to.
So when you're getting things together in your emergency supply kit, think about things that you're going to need. I always recommend folks to have a kit that you have at home, but also have a kit grab and go bag for each family member. We've got a couple of items out here on the table. You may not think about having activities for kids that aren't related to our electronics.
Or even for adults. I mean, if you are sheltering in place for several days and you don't have your electronics, and you're used to having your electronics, anxiety can really kick in. And if you're not at home where you may have a few books on a shelf that you can grab, it does help to have a few things that can distract you.
Exactly.
Even just having a stress ball that you can squeeze when you're very stressed out can really make a difference in helping with that emotional support.
Yes, it does. Something that's not up here on the table is water. You're going to want to make sure that you've got plenty of water. We recommend 3 gallons of water per person per day.
And
So-
per pet.
And per pet, exactly. So planning for your pet is extremely important as well. You're going to have some of the same items like food, water. You want to make sure you've got a leash for them. If you've got a carrier that you can have for them, that's one thing that my dog loves. We've got a little carrier that we take her places. So if we need to evacuate our home, we tell her to get in her travel bag and off we go. So it's really good. So making sure that you have those things available. And also too, making sure you've got non-perishable food items. If you do have canned food, making sure that you've got a can opener that's not electric, just in case electricity's out. Because you do have some Pop tops, but not all of them are pop tops. So making sure you get that can opener. These are wonderful, but this also explains kind of why you need all that water, because if you're going to have oats or anything that you need to have
Rice
water
mixes,
for, rice
macaroni and
mixes,
cheese.
yes,
Yeah.
making sure that you've got plenty of water available.
And these are all fantastic shelf-stable foods, but they do
Yes.
require some water. You might not
Yes.
even need to boil it. You can kind of soak it overnight if you need to, and you don't have a way to boil water.
Right.
You can make overnight oats, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that, to think about when you're packing up things. And other things to kind of keep in mind, what are some specialty items for unique needs that family members might have? Like, you and I both have glasses, so making sure you've got an extra pair, maybe, I hate an old pair, it's not great,
Better
but
than
it's better
none.
than nothing.
Yeah, a pair from the couple years prior.
Yes.
Stick it in a case
And
put it in your emergency
kit.
kit. Just in case
Yes.
something happens, you forget your glasses, they get broken.
Yes, exactly. That way you've got those available. A first aid kit is really good, having some of those basics, not just Band-Aids, but your gauze pads, your roller gauze to kind of, to wrap up, tape. Making sure that you've got that first aid tape to where you can tape things down. Masks and gloves.
If you have a heart condition, you might want to have a blood pressure cuff.
Exactly.
Things
Yes.
like that. Yeah, prescription medication.
You're on prescription medications.
Like,
Have
get
a
an
couple of
extra
days in
half
your pack.
prescription,
Yes.
from your doctor.
Yes, exactly. And those are things to kind of keep in mind to have. And of course, flashlights, a battery-powered radio, making sure that you've got extra batteries as well is extremely important, because that way, if the batteries you have run out, you are kind of good to go.
And you've got this tool here. Any kind of a multi-tool is a good idea to
Yes.
have. That can be used as a hammer. It can be used to pry your way out of somewhere if you get stuck.
Yes.
There's lots of different things, right?
This end turns the water off. So if you at the meter, so if you know where
At the
your
main.
meter is, know how to do that at the main. This here, if you've got natural gas hooked up to the home, this actually goes over that, and you can turn the gas off. So and this particular one is also non-sparking.
So you're preventing explosions and fountains from happening.
Exactly.
If a tornado comes and takes your home and moves it,
Yes.
all those pipes are connected to your home, and if you're not turned off at the main,
Exactly.
so
Yes, you can have
before
some
you
issues.
evacuate, you probably want to turn those things off.
Turn those things
know
off.
how to
before you
do
leave.
that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And something to keep in mind, if you do have natural gas and you turn it off, don't turn it back on. The professional needs to come check, make sure everything's okay before you turn it back on.
Okay.
Yes.
That's important.
So yes, these are definitely very important to have in having those multi-tools.
So I know that there are some forms available to help families kind of get like checklisty type forms that are available through FEMA and different places free online, or you can go to your extension office. There's also things available that tell you how to replace important documents. You can get at your extension office and
Yes.
the district health department. All of that information is available for free, and also it can be accessed online as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ready.gov has all kinds of information as well.
Ready.gov is our source. So you want to start getting that plan in place. Keep a copy of that important information on your refrigerator so you can grab it and go, put it in a red envelope that's really visible, and you'll be ready when the disaster strikes. And we're
Yes.
going to talk more about this in the next segment.
Look at it.
You ever find yourself
Look at
lost
Max.
in the dark and you can't see?
Oh, Max, you broke it. No, don't do that. Bad boy.
Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3. I'll be there.
Welcome back to Family Lifestyles. We're back with Janarae talking about disaster preparedness in our final segment, and we're going to learn more about making sure our family is prepared.
Yes. The next step in what we've been talking about of our 3 steps is making that family plan. And this is the time to sit down with your family. If you've got older parents, if you've got small children, you want to sit down with them and figure out what's the plan, what's going to happen. Or do you need to go somewhere else for a tornado shelter or storm sheltering? Having those plans in place, you know what, you've been informed, you have your alerts set up. Now's the time to kind of put those things together and decide what that's going to be. And there are several different things, resources out there that you can use. One of them is a guide from FEMA called Are You Ready? This actually just literally walks you through. You just kind of fill in the blank of what your plan is and knowing what that is. So this really is a great, helpful. It is fillable. You can get an electronic version at ready.gov, or you can get a hard copy, and we do have these available at the Barren River District Health Department. Some other things that are also part of your plan is your communications plan. And having, especially if you've got teenagers or even younger children, you might want to consider, even for other family members, having a communication card. You can actually print these off from offline, or you can pick up a hard copy as well. And put some important information on here. Having that emergency contact who is outside your area, what we typically would call a long distance contact. Making sure that you have someone that you can call and that family members can call, and having that phone number with everybody, because we don't remember phone numbers like we used to.
Right.
And having this available just in case you can't charge up your phone is really, really helpful. That way you've got that information to share with authorities if you need to.
And you can put those again on your refrigerator. This is something that if EMTs have to come to the house or something, they're going to be looking for that kind of thing as well.
Yes.
So having those things are really important. And the refrigerator is a great place to just a central location to keep that information.
Yes, exactly. So having that information and other important information together is really important. Other plans besides your family plans that you want to be familiar with is, what are the plans at work? Do you work? If you work somewhere in the healthcare industry, you got to be prepared to leave your family behind. So you want to make sure that they're ready and that they have things in place that they need. But also, too, know what the school's plan is. If the school has to evacuate, do they have a location where they're going to send you information and say, hey, pick your kids up here at the high school instead of at the elementary school? Or if it's the high school kids, maybe they're taking them to the elementary school. So making sure that you've got that plan in place for in knowing what their plans are as well. And then, if you've got to evacuate your home, have a meeting place. That's part of your plan. Fire evacuations and fires is actually the most common thing that any of us, as far as emergency, is going to experience in our lifetime.
Right.
It's the most common. So knowing how to evacuate your home, where are you going to assemble? Because you're going to be going out different exits.
Right.
When you exit
And
for an
you want
evacuation.
everyone to meet in the same place so that
Have a
you
meetup
don't
spot.
think someone is stuck in the burning house and running back in trying to save someone who's outside in the backyard instead of meeting at the apple tree in the front.
Yard, exactly, or at the mailbox. So having those meeting places is important outside of your home, but also outside your community. So, you're at work, the kids are at school, and, maybe someone else is at home and they've got to evacuate, have been told to evacuate. Have a meeting place.
Right.
Outside of your community, outside of your home, that you can get to, all of you can get to. And it could be the school, it could be a church, just wherever that might be.
Okay.
Yeah, making sure you've got those as well, just in case you've got to evacuate. And then plan for family members with special considerations. You may have folks that are elderly. They're living by themselves still. You know, my parents were living by themselves, even though we lived right next door. They were living by themselves and they were doing very well. We were up there all the time. Have a plan in place on what you need to do if you're at work and they're at home. Do you have a neighbor that can help them evacuate if they need to evacuate? So having those networks is really important. If you have someone who has a disability of some sort, whether they're in a wheelchair, they use a cane, or maybe there's a cognitive issue there, having plans in place for them as well. There are special considerations for that.
Absolutely.
If you've got an infant, a newborn on the way,
Right.
having those special considerations is very important. And then don't forget the pets. You know, don't leave
Absolutely
them
not.
behind.
I mean, you're going to take your pets with you if they live in the house, and you have to have food for them and water for them
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
So all of these things are...
All those things in place, making sure that you've got their records, and when we're talking about records, make sure that you've got their vaccination records available. Have that in with your important documents so that you have those to show. Have pictures of yourself and your pets, your children and your pets. However, so that when you go to say, hey, I'm missing my
If they're
pet,
search and rescue, they...
can verify that, yes, that's your pet because you're in the picture with them.
Correct.
So, you know, want to make sure that happens, because there might be someone out there who takes your picture off Facebook and prints it and say, hey, this is my
This
pet.
is my pet.
So make sure that you do have those considerations. And also to kind of keep in mind, there are going to be times where you stay at home and there are going to be times that you're going to go.
Right.
So again, no evacuation routes. You're going to have evacuation ways in your home, but also evacuation routes out of your neighborhood or area. Have more than one way to be able to get
Particularly
out.
if you live in a flood-prone area,
Yes.
because you know there may be a way out that's flooded, and if there's another way to go, you're going to need to
Yes.
know that. And if you know that flooding is an issue, you may just want to avoid that potential flooded road and go the alternate route.
Right. Because turn around, don't drown.
But you know, it may be, if there's an ice storm, the alternate route is very steep, and your route that's prone to flooding would be better in a nice situation. And you just
Right.
have to think about those things.
Those kind of things
and
of
you know
what's
what
gonna
you're going to
happen.
do.
Yes.
Also, I'm thinking, I bring up ice storms. Sheltering in place often happens with an ice storm, and
Yes.
often for several days with no power. And if you're on city water and you don't have, if you're on a well and you don't have power, you can't get water to flush your toilet.
Exactly.
So you have to think about that, which is why we have this nice little display up here with a 5-gallon bucket, and this little lid on the bucket, Janarae, if you want to pop that open, it has a toilet seat. It's small, but it is a toilet seat.
Yes,
This
exactly.
is a sanitary way to be able to handle going to the bathroom for a number of people. You have this bucket with a seat. You take, each person takes a bag when they need to use the toilet. They put a scoop or two of cat litter in the bag. You put the bag over the bucket. You put the seat on top. You have toilet paper and hand sanitizer set up in the little area where you have this.
Yes.
And then when the person's done, they take their bag, they tie it up. You have a bigger bag. You put all that together in one bag away, and then everyone has a nice, clean, and sanitary way to use the
restroom.
bathroom.
Yes, exactly. And then there are other sanitation considerations when you, and this is, again, a reason to have those several gallons of water,
Yes.
even at home. I've had to use my emergency water when we've had a line bust coming from the meter into the house. We've had a line that we've had to replace. So having that water is extremely important. And so you've got your, you know, washing dishes. You're going to have, if you don't have electricity and you can't get your water, you're going to have to hand wash your dishes. So making sure that you have what's available to do that with.
Some basic sanitation supplies
Yes.
can go a long way in an emergency situation,
Exactly.
and keeping everyone safe
Everyone
with
safe.
food preparation and using the toilet and things like that. So none of these things are super expensive. It's good to have them in place, and just thinking a little bit ahead can make you much more
difference.
comfortable and safe when you're in a situation where you're sheltering in place or having to leave your home for several days. And I appreciate everyone's attention for this very important issue. I appreciate your time coming and visiting with us today, Janarae. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Take care.